So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So to our mayor, our CEO, and everyone that's here, I would like to welcome you to Michelle Clark, where we say it's always a great day to be an eagle. And we say that because eagles soar, eagles are not afraid of trouble, and eagles are not afraid to run from the things that might come and go right into the storm to make a difference in them. So we are always proud to make it a great Eagle Day here today. And I'm proud that Michelle Clark, when we first started the vaccination, I was one of the ones raising my hand saying, pick us, pick us. And not because I thought it was going to be easy, or that it wouldn't come with some controversy. I did it because I wanted to be a place where whenever someone in my community decided that they needed to get the vaccination, I wanted it to be where they could just come right here in the community. I also wanted to do it for my students within the community and be a site also for our families and anyone else in the community to be easy access for them on the west side. So when that came about, we were ready, we were jumping, we were joyous, but I will tell you, one of my staff members said to me, sometimes I think you listen to Proud Mary too much, because they say, you know, we try to take the beginning of this nice and easy, but sometimes we just got to do it rough by getting out there and making it happen. So we did some door-to-door, some calls, trying to get it. And so today I'm so proud that it has been approved for younger students and children to get it. And for this to happen, I'm just proud of the work that has happened with this. So once again, I say to you, welcome to Michelle Clark, where it's always a great day to be an Eagle. And at this time, I have the honor. When I say honor, it is like a big honor for me to introduce our mayor. I'm loving everything that she's doing and helping us with, and she has the attributes of the eagle that when storms come, she doesn't run from them, but she goes to them and see how to fix it. So please join me in welcoming our mayor, Mayor Lightfoot.
Thank you, Principal Anderson. CEO Martinez, I'm going to say this loud and publicly. Principal Anderson's one of the best principals in the entire CPS school system. Yeah, you can cheer for that, because it is absolutely true. All year long, no matter the time of day, night, whether school's in session, out of session, this man is working hard for his students and people in his community. He is a true asset and treasure, and I want anybody within the sound of my voice to know that, because it is true, and the things that he does for this community are truly outstanding. He has made Michelle Clark a center of gravity in this community, and we are proud to be here and to support him and to support the great staff for all that they do for the students and for this community. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. First and foremost, let me say happy Vaccine Awareness Day. This is a truly great and important milestone for our city, but especially for parents and guardians around our city who, as of last week, are now able to protect 5 to 11-year-olds from catching COVID-19 by getting them vaccinated. To raise awareness about this shift in vaccine eligibility, as well as ensure that those who face the most barriers in getting vaccinated are able to do so and do it in a timely fashion. Today, we have given city employees 2 hours of paid leave to take their children to get vaccinated, as well as get vaccinated themselves for their first shot or for their booster shot. Declared today as Vaccine Awareness Day, which canceled classes. CPS declared today as Vaccine Awareness Day, which canceled classes to give parents and guardians an opportunity to take their children to a vaccine appointment, and to have called on other institutions and businesses to follow suit and allow their employees to protect their health on the 12th, a phrase coined by our great Public Health Commissioner Arwady, who's a poet in her own right. It's true. Many families and children will receive life-saving vaccines today, and we know that there is still work to do, but we are encouraged by the uptick in the number of parents who have seen the importance of making sure that their children get vaccinated, even in this short period of time. Many families and children will be able to take advantage of this opportunity all across the city. That's why we will continue to ensure that vaccines, including the pediatric vaccine, are distributed equitably across our city. The vaccine is safe, it is free, and it is the best defense that we have against COVID-19. And let me say that all again, because there continues to be, unfortunately, a lot of misinformation out there. This vaccine was tested on cohorts of children of the same age to make sure that we understood what the right dosage was for them, the right balance. It was tested, it was approved by the FDA, and we are very confident with the safety of this vaccine. But I'm also going to talk to the adults out there. There are many of us in this city that still have not gotten that first shot. We need you to get off the wall, off the fence, whatever you want to call it, and step up today at the many opportunities through your physician, through clinics like this. We're going to be hosting opportunities at the city colleges for the next few weekends, or at your local pharmacy. But whatever it takes, make sure you educate yourself, get your questions answered, but for goodness sake, get the life-saving vaccine. We need you to do that. And that should happen whether you're 5 or 85 in the city of Chicago. It's also a must if you intend on gathering with loved ones for the ongoing and upcoming holidays. Remember, a year ago, we were standing here, many of us, to tell you, don't gather for Thanksgiving because of the concern that we had with the spread of the vaccine. We're in a very different place this year because of the vaccine. So still be cautious, but make sure that you are fully vaccinated and the people who are gathering around your table are as well. This vaccine is easily available to children and adults now, right now. So for a full list of locations where you can get vaccinated, please visit chicago.gov/COVID-VAX, V-A-X. That's chicago.gov/COVID-VAX. Investing in the safety of our residents, regardless of their age, is an investment in our here, our now, and our future. And it puts us one step closer to putting this pandemic behind us once and for all. The vaccine is the answer. Now, I'm going to turn it over to our Public Health Commissioner, Dr. Allison Arwady, and she will provide a few more details. Doctor?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for being here. Almost a year in, I still love stopping by vaccination clinics, talking to the people who are getting protected, with the young ones, talking to their parents. It's been a long wait to this point where 5 to 11-year-olds are able to get vaccinated. I want to reassure you that in the first approximately week of vaccination here in the city, everything has been going beautifully. As you heard, this dose is 1/3 the dose of what adults get. We've not had any issues with side effects. Anything unexpected. Where we have heard anything, children have generally been complaining about a sore arm. Many kids don't even have that. But overall, what we've heard, talking to pediatricians, talking to families, checking in with hospitals, is that even the amount of side effects that we see from adults are much less compared to what we're seeing in 5 to 11-year-olds. We've also seen children getting vaccinated all over this city. Really, the numbers are increasing beautifully. We're already at a point right now in Chicago when there are more than 10,000 vaccines going into arms every day right now. That is more vaccination than has, let's cheer for that. That is more vaccine that has been happening here in Chicago since last June. So that's 70,000 plus doses every week. And let me tell you, that is none too late because we are on the increase with COVID-19 cases here in Chicago. We are, as of today, averaging 414 new cases of COVID every day in the city of Chicago. That puts us back into a higher risk status as it comes to COVID, and I expect cases to continue to increase. Still, these cases are falling almost exclusively, especially where you look at people who are getting seriously ill, on people and families and networks that are unvaccinated. Our percent positivity is 2.2%, and those increases are up 24% just from a week ago. We're about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, which means today's the day. The reason we're doing Vaccination Awareness Day, and thanks again to CPS for making the decision to pull out all the stops and have kids get vaccinated today. Thanks to the mayor for making the decision to give employees the time off to get their own vaccines, to get their kids vaccinated, or to get their booster shots. Because you get that today, your protection is as good as it's going to be in time for Thanksgiving. I worry that as these holidays are coming, we're going to see more of a surge. And people have been asking me, why do we need another Vaccine Awareness Day? Are we not all aware of the vaccine? Of course we're aware of the vaccine, but every day I am still talking to people who say, I'm waiting. Sometime soon, I want to see more people get it. Billions of people around the world have now gotten this safe and effective vaccine. The majority of the world's population has gotten a dose. 2/3 of our 12 to 17-year-olds have gotten a first dose, which is good progress, but not quite where we want to be. And every day we're seeing good progress in the 5 to 11-year-olds. The number one reason we vaccinate is to protect children, adults, families, and get us past COVID. But particularly for children, if your child is vaccinated, they will not need to quarantine as long as they don't develop other symptoms if there's a case in their school, for example. So given that we're trying to also have school in person and safe as much as we're able to, another reason to do this is to keep kids in school where COVID protocols remain strong, but vaccine is more important than anything. And with that, I will be pleased to bring up CPS CEO Pedro Martinez.
Good morning, everyone. Again, thank you, Mayor Lightfoot. Thank you, Dr. Arwady. As soon as the 5 to 11-year-olds got approved, which was about a week, it was on a Tuesday, we started having this conversation of how do we make sure that our families have the ability to get vaccinated? How do we make sure we elevate the urgency of it? And as Dr. Arwady said, you know, as educators, what we do is we backwards plan. So one of the things that I know from dealing with COVID last year in my former district and state, after the holidays, the cases spiked. And they spiked so high that it's probably one of the most scariest moments in my career that I've ever had, because I saw death rates were at record highs in my community. I saw cases at a record high. The schools were open, children were in school, but we had to restrict the numbers. And this is my former state that doesn't have the kind of winter that Chicago has. Our procedures are very clear in our schools. As soon as we see any symptoms, we pull the child out of class, we quarantine. I mean, that is how we work today, and we're not even into the winter season. And so when you backwards map and you say, okay, you need 2 shots, they need to, and then there's a 2-week period afterwards before our families and children are fully vaccinated. With Christmas coming, it is literally this weekend. This is the magic period for us to be able to do it. And so we wanted to send a strong message. I am so grateful to our park district, to our libraries, our faith-based leaders. We have sites across the city that are helping families that need childcare. We have over 20 of our schools that are offering vaccinations, but it's even more than that because we have several community partnerships, but 20 that we're managing directly. Every one of those areas, we're seeing a very healthy turnout for families, including here. We've actually had to add vaccine at our 4 regional centers, so we still have room for walk-ins. But I can't emphasize enough to our families, this is an investment for the rest of the school year. That's what this is. Whenever we quarantine children, and we just reduced the period from 14 to 10 days, that is still 10 days the children are not in school. When our teachers are having to manage that with all the other issues, it is just so difficult for them to feel confident, to feel that they're doing everything they can for their children, because again, there's so many things out of their control. So what this vaccine does, it creates stability, it creates safety. Para nuestros padres, quiero por favor apoyarlos que tienen que, este es el tiempo ahorita para que sus niños reciban sus vacunas. Nosotros sabemos que porque son 2 vacunas y ya estamos cerca de las Navidades, ahorita este tiempo es el mejor tiempo ahorita para asegurarnos que los niños van a estar seguros al 100%. Las vacunas son gratis, están seguras. El porcentaje del 12 es 30% de lo que es por adultos. For our families, the vaccine shots are free, they're safe. It's 30% of what the doses are for adults. So again, I urge our families to please take advantage of this. And what we're going to be doing, so we're going to be able to gather data after this weekend to see how many of our families took advantage of the vaccines. And then we will leverage our resources, our partners, our mobile clinics, our regional sites, our school-based clinics to help families with their second shot. We won't have to cancel classes. I get that question a lot. We won't cancel classes. What I'm going to be doing, though, is working with Dr. Arwady, our medical professionals in the district, so that we can work with the families on how to get their second shot. The families that have not taken advantage of this weekend, I will also know who they are as well. And what I'm going to be doing is doing outreach to those families to see what is it they need, what information. Dr. Arwady and her team have done actually home-based vaccines. I mean, there's so many resources that we can leverage in our community to help those families. So this is the beginning of it, but it's an important beginning because of the time. Para nuestras familias, las familias que reciben su primera vacuna este fin de semana, voy a trabajar con esas familias para ayudarles para que reciban su segunda vacuna. Tenemos programas móviles, hasta la Dr. Arwady tiene programas donde pueden ir a su casa. Vamos a trabajar con ustedes para que reciban su segunda vacuna. Y para las familias que no han recibido sus vacunas, queremos saber por qué. Queremos saber qué información necesitan para que puedan hacer esa decisión, porque es muy importante que protejan sus niños. So again, thank you, Mayor Lightfoot. Thank you, Dr. Arwady, the whole team. I am so pleased. I was able to talk to many of the children that were here in the room. And I'll tell you, everything from nervousness to excitement, because they know they're going to be able to do more things when they're fully vaccinated. Thank you. Now I'm going to bring Dr. Luna.
Muy buenos días a todos y gracias por estar aquí y ante todo, feliz día de la concientización de la vacunación. Este es un gran día para nuestra ciudad, pero especialmente para los padres y tutores de nuestra ciudad, quienes a partir de la semana pasada ahora pueden proteger a sus niños de 5 a 11 años de contraer COVID-19 al vacunarlos. Crear conciencia sobre este cambio en la elegibilidad de las vacunas, así como asegurar que ellos enfrenten las mayores barreras y quitarlas del medio para poder vacunar a todas las personas de nuestra comunidad que tanto lo necesiten. Les estamos dando a los empleados de la ciudad 2 horas pagadas para que lleven a sus hijos a vacunarse, así como que también se vacunen ellos y su familia y reciban ese refuerzo si tienen personas de más de 65 años o que sean elegibles para recibir los refuerzos en familia, porque esa es la prioridad de la ciudad, vacunar en familia. La ciudad también declaró hoy como el Día de la Concientización de las Vacunas y canceló las clases para dar a los padres y tutores la oportunidad de llevar a sus hijos a esas citas para que reciban esa vacuna. También pedimos a otras instituciones y empresas que sigan este ejemplo para promover la vacuna, crear una cultura positiva a esta medicina, a esta vacuna que salva vidas. Los casos de COVID-19 continúan aumentando. El momento es ahora. La vacuna es gratuita, segura y su mejor defensa contra el COVID-19, ya sea que tengan 5 años u 85. También es imprescindible si tiene la intención de reunirse con los seres queridos para las próximas festividades, las que ya se acercan. Y está finalmente disponible para niños y adultos en toda la ciudad. En este momento tenemos abundancia de vacuna. Padre, familia, que me estás escuchando, este es el momento para sentarnos en acción de gracias, para reunirnos en familia vacunadas el día de Navidad y Año Nuevo. Para obtener una lista completa de ubicaciones, visite chicago.gov/COVIDVax. O también nos puede llamar al teléfono 312-746-4835 y una persona que habla su idioma le atenderá y le dará esas citas o la información que ocupe. Invertir en la ciudad, en la seguridad de todos nuestros residentes, independientemente de la edad, del estatus migratorio y de su aseguranza, es una inversión para el futuro de nuestra ciudad. Y nos acerca un gran paso más para dejar atrás esta pandemia de una vez y por todas. Gracias. Y ahora, otra vez con la Mayor Lightfoot y la doctora Arwady y el CPS Martinez.
And she beats a hasty retreat from the microphone. Let me also acknowledge and thank Alderman Michael Scott, who is here, son of the West Side, a great supporter of everything related to public education. So thank you also for being here. Happy to take any questions, and then afterwards, we're going to get our booster shot.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. We're going to start off with Jesse Echeverria from Univision. 2 questions per report,
Thank you.
folks. Thank you.
For Mr. Martinez, if you can answer in Spanish and English. At this time, do you have an idea of what has been the response by CPS families in regards of, taking advantage of today's opportunity? And by when would you know if this effort was successful?
Sí, la pregunta, ahorita, lo que estamos mirando ahorita, que sí, tenemos más de 20 escuelas que están ofreciendo vacunas, y en todas las escuelas están mirando mucha gente que está llegando a las escuelas. En cada escuela sí todavía tenemos campo para personas que quieren ser un walk-in, pero la respuesta de sus padres ahorita se mira muy bien. Vamos, después en la semana que viene, vamos a trabajar con la señora Dr. Arwady para recibir la información de cuántas familias de CPS recibieron sus vacunas. So far, again, we are offering vaccination in at least 20 of our schools, and we're seeing a healthy response. And our goal is that next week, we'll work with Dr. Arwady to receive information about all the families that took advantage of the vaccinations, and we'll know exactly where they're at by school.
Amy Jacobson.
Hi, I have a question for you, Mr. Martinez. Oh, sorry. First, and then one for Dr. Arwady. You had mentioned the other day that we're paying substitute teachers who aren't working today. How many teachers is that, and what's the total cost?
Yeah, so and this was, of course, all before we canceled classes. So we are close to about 1,100 substitutes that we're paying for today. And again, we value our substitutes. There is a national shortage across the country when it comes to substitutes. We've been enhancing rates. I will tell you, historically, we've never paid our substitutes adequate rates, and now we're also doing cadre subs, which allows us to also have substitutes that have health insurance. And so I just think that's a social justice issue as well for me. And so with that, we would have had about a consistency of that level of substitutes is pretty close to what we've been receiving every Friday. We would have got probably more because, again, we canceled classes, and so we would have gotten even more requests for substitutes.
And my second question is for Dr. Arwady. Some parents are struggling because they feel that COVID for children is not as lethal, or as, the morbidity rate, the mortality rate is just as equal for the flu. So why should they get their kids vaccinated if their children are healthy?
Sure. So thank goodness COVID has not hit young children in terms of the very severe infections, hospitalizations, and deaths in the way that it has hit older Chicagoans and Americans. That said, as you say, we actually have seen hundreds of children in this age group across the U.S. die from COVID-19. We've had more than 8,000 in this age group hospitalized with COVID-19, a third of them with no underlying conditions. And COVID has clearly shown us that it's not always predictable. If I could tell you for sure, this child will have no problems, will not have the inflammatory syndrome that we have sometimes seen in children after they get COVID infection, has no risk for ongoing issues after getting COVID infection, or that they're likely to have a mild illness and not have a concern, that would make it much easier. But unfortunately, just as in adults, it is not fully predictable in children. The other thing is that we know that children get COVID really probably at similar rates that adults do and are able to spread it. And so we know that children are living in families, are seeing grandparents, are in school settings, and recognizing that they inadvertently can serve as vectors, as the ability to spread this disease, even if they themselves are not getting that ill. When we are in the middle of a pandemic, which we very much are, and on the rise again here in Chicago, it's important that we're doing everything we can to protect at the individual level, but also to protect at the family and at the city level. Children 5 to 11 are clearly part of that. And, I don't want to see anybody unnecessarily get COVID infection. Roll the dice with that. We know the vaccine is safe and effective for these 5 to 11-year-olds. I'll just highlight, because another question we sometimes get is about this myocarditis. In the whole study for 5 to 11-year-olds, the thousands of kids, there was not a single case of myocarditis or pericarditis identified in the children who got the vaccine. A lot of that is with that lower dose. We're very, very confident this vaccine is safe, effective, and the best thing to help prevent kids from getting sick. And even if kids are only dying, quote, only dying or only getting hospitalized at the same rate as the flu, that is still a vaccine preventable disease. And so in the same way we encourage flu vaccination, we're encouraging COVID vaccination. Vaccine preventable diseases means let's try to prevent them.
Thank you, Doctor. Adriana, WBEZ.
Yes, hi. I have 2 questions. One, so CPS has some 30-some school-based
I
clinics.
assume your question is for CEO Martinez, is that correct?
Sure, yes.
You have to identify who
can
your question
answer.
is for so that we know who should answer it.
Well, CPS also part of the city, so if anyone can answer, it would be great. But so CPS has 30-some school-based clinics. So far, only 14 are offering vaccinations. What's happening to the rest, and why aren't the other school-based clinics offering that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things here. We have been planning, as you know, for this rollout literally for months. As we promised, there are approximately 100,000 pediatric 5 to 11-year-old vaccine doses here in the city distributed across providers, pediatricians' offices, hospitals, community-based centers, school-based centers, pharmacies. And we've paid a lot of attention to how sign-up has been going for these vaccine for children. So, for example, at some of the school-based settings where we saw a lot of people signing up, additional doses were added. At some of the Walgreens, where we saw a lot of interest in getting vaccine, Walgreens said, let's get some more vaccine, let's add some additional sites. So I've been really pleased that there are approximately 200 places across the city of Chicago with free available COVID vaccine for kids. There's almost 700 with it available for adults. So our approach all along has been first to encourage people to get vaccinated at their own pediatricians or their own family clinic, because when they do that, that allows us to make sure they're connected to care in an ongoing way, which is more important, frankly, in some ways than just getting that vaccine. So the plan has not been to say, let's try to do all of the vaccine through schools. The plan has been, let's set up hundreds of locations, and then as you heard with CEO Martinez, we'll be using data, just as we did for the 12 to 19-year-olds, and doing focused attention, the opportunity to have a conversation, and have vaccine available. There's already more than 80 school-based clinics scheduled, just in the next month or so. But what we've seen, again, I try to do this based on data. You look around the country where there were some cities who said, let's try to stand up a clinic at every school. They were averaging very few vaccines, like in some cases 2 vaccines per school. And really more important is to make sure people can find a vaccine close to where it's available to them. And then it's not just is a vaccine available, is the confidence there? Has the principal done the work to make sure families have gotten the information? And so right now you can go to chi.gov/COVIDVax. There are lots of places today, this weekend, that have vaccine available. The city's got vaccine available at Daly College tomorrow, but literally places all over the city. So this has been our approach all along. It's worked well, and it's been going really seamlessly for the first week or so. I'm very happy with it.
I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So what you're saying is that there is low demand in the vaccines, that in the clinics, the school-based clinics that don't have...
No, what I'm saying is we've been encouraging families to sign up for pediatric vaccine in advance. You don't have to sign up. We've worked to make sure, particularly on the south side, there is a lot of availability of walk-in as well. But where people have signed up for vaccine, we're able to get ahead of that so that we can say, oh, these sites are getting full or almost full, and add additional sites. So there are certainly, where we're standing today, this is one of the regional high schools. There are children getting vaccinated now. There is availability today at this site, should anybody need it. But we've worked to look at what the signups have looked like to make sure people can get it. There are also many places just within walking distance of here that also have vaccine available. I don't want kids to have to wait to get the vaccine, and so we're using all partners and making it available. But this is not the last day, of course, that people are getting vaccinated. It's the beginning of our big push for those 5 to 11-year-olds.
Thanks, Doctor. Craig Wall, ABC 7. Thank you.
Doctor, stay up there if you'd be so kind. Let me just clarify because I'm not sure that the messaging is completely clear, so maybe you can make sure it is, about holiday travel. If people want to travel and gather, what are you telling them? You know, if they're unvaccinated people, are people supposed to be asking every family member or telling family members who are not vaccinated, don't show up, and what?
Yeah. So different families are going to take different approaches here, and I understand this. You know, I have been very clear with my friends and family that anybody who is coming to my home, who is eating at my table, will be fully vaccinated if they are eligible for age. So where there are younger kids in my family, nieces, nephews, etc., they have gotten their first dose at this point. I would welcome them. They're on the path to vaccination. Where there are children who are under 5, I welcome them, knowing their parents are fully vaccinated, knowing that they've been being careful. You know, people are having some difficulty balancing risks here. I got a text message from somebody just yesterday saying, do you think it's okay for fully vaccinated, you know, triple vaxxed people to be gathering for Thanksgiving? I said, yes. Where people are fully vaccinated, you know, adults have gotten those boosters, kids have gotten that first dose, please gather. We are in a place, thanks to this vaccine. It's my #1 thing I am thankful for this year, that we have this vaccine that is so available. Where people are going to be gathering with people who are not fully vaccinated, especially older people, I do have some concerns about that. I obviously am not stopping that. There's no limit on that, but would just encourage people to be extra careful, take a test perhaps at least before, if you yourself are not fully vaccinated and you're going to be gathering with others. And it is a higher risk situation. There's no way around it. Related to travel, the travel advisory remains in place, so would encourage unvaccinated people not to be traveling still. We're on the increase. That guidance is not going to change. For people who are vaccinated, travel is appropriate. I expect to be traveling myself over the weekend.
Where are you going?
TBD.
Mayor, question for you, if we could. It's slightly off topic, but since you're the mayor, there was a report that came out from COPA 2 days ago that included recommendations for Ella French to be suspended based on the Anjanette Young. Should COPA have done something differently, and are you disappointed in how they handled that?
I am disappointed. As we all know, painfully, Ella French gave her life in service to the city. It is disappointing to me, in light of the fact, in light of her passing, that COPA still felt the need to include her name and a recommendation for discipline of a deceased individual. That to me seems the height of tone deafness. So yes, I am disappointed, and I think that they could have taken different actions, and particularly in light of the fact that Ms. Young herself said that Officer French showed her respect and treated her with dignity. It just doesn't make sense that COPA made this decision.
Eric Rung, WGN Front and Center.
This is for the mayor as well. So I'm sure this is going to come as a surprise, but the CTU has put out a release saying that a lot of the communities on the south and west side don't have as much access to the vaccine, especially for the kids ages 5 to 11 within a mile of their school. Would you care to comment on that?
Well, let me choose my words carefully here. I think it's really important when you all are hearing information from different sources to make sure that you press them for the facts. What's the facts related to that? We have spent a tremendous amount of time and energy throughout the course of the pandemic, and certainly in the time that the vaccine has been available since mid-December of last year, making sure that we're going deep in communities that have been hardest hit based upon the data that we have, and the south side of Chicago is a particular area of focus, and it has been and will continue to be. So the notion that somehow we are ignoring the south side of Chicago, that there isn't sufficient vaccine availability. It's just a complete misnomer. And frankly, I feel more strongly than that. We have done a number of different things to make sure that vaccines are available for people all over the city, particularly in areas like the south side of Chicago, where we've seen a slower pace of vaccine uptake. We work with community-based partners, the faith community, working on pop-up events, static events. That's where we started our Vaccine at Home. Vaccine ambassadors have been going door to door. So I don't know where CTU gets the things that it says, but what I see consistently is they are untethered from reality and the facts, and it does a disservice to people out there. The vaccine is readily available. It has been since the spring, and we're going to continue to do everything that we can to continue our push to get adults vaccinated, and of course, to make sure that all children who are eligible get vaccinated, regardless of their zip code.
And this would be either for you, Mayor, or Mr. Martinez. Looking forward down the line, is there discussions already underway about what a statewide mandate for children for children to be vaccinated against COVID-19 moving forward once it is fully approved?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of anything, and obviously we work on a regular basis with our partners at the state, and particularly the Illinois Department of Public Health. I'll leave that for Dr. Arwady and those discussions, but we're going to continue to be in discussions with them in collaboration. Here's what we know: the vaccine is safe. It is free. It is widely available. It is the only tool that we have to actually mitigate against sickness and death of COVID-19. And we want to make sure that those shots get into as many arms as possible as soon as people are eligible. And clearly our children are high priority for us, as well as folks at the other end of the age spectrum. We still need to keep pushing hard for our seniors, but everything in between. COVID is still very much part of our present here in the city of Chicago. It is top of mind for me every single day, as it is for the Department of Health and, of course, for CPS as well.
All right, Roseanne Tellez, Fox 32.
My question is for Dr. Arwady. And first I wanted to ask you, I believe last week you said there were 210,000 children in this age range. Can you give us an update on how many have now been vaccinated? And my second question will be, since a lot of parents are coming with their kids today and maybe getting boosters, can you talk about your guidance on mixing and matching the different vaccines?
Sure. So there are about 210,000 kids between the ages of 5 and 11 in Chicago. Yesterday was a city holiday, but on the day before, we'd reached about 10,000 or so of the 5 to 11-year-olds had already gotten that first dose, which I'm pleased with, particularly because we're starting the big push really now and this weekend. So all of the data is available on chi.gov/COVID-. If you're interested, you'll see a line going up beautifully with the 5 to 11-year-olds, just like we would expect it to. And we'll share more details, of course, next week when we have more from this weekend. Related to booster doses and mixing and matching, first, let me be very clear that for anybody under the age of 18, the Pfizer vaccine is the only vaccine that is available. And for the 5 to 11-year-olds, it is a lower dose. You still need to get both doses. For adults over 18, we are recommending that anybody who got a Johnson & Johnson vaccine get a booster dose 2 months after getting the J&J. Anybody over the age of 18. If you want to get the same J&J because you chose that for a reason, you can do that. There is slightly better efficacy protection for people who got the first dose of J&J to get a booster dose of either Pfizer or Moderna. But we really want anybody who got J&J to get a second dose. For people who got Moderna or Pfizer, the recommendation is for people once they are 6 months past the second dose to consider getting a booster. Anybody over the age of 18 is eligible for that if there's any reason that they're at increased risk. If they have any kind of underlying condition, if they're working or living or even attending a higher risk event, we are encouraging them to also get a booster. For those folks, the data looks similar depending on the mixing and matching. I would encourage people generally to stick with what they got previously. So I got my first 2 doses of Pfizer. I got as a booster dose a Pfizer vaccine. For people who got 2 doses of Moderna, I would generally recommend the Moderna vaccine. But basically, it doesn't matter that much in terms of which type people are getting as their booster dose. But we strongly are encouraging folks to please get that dose. Only about a third of people over 65 had gotten a booster dose here in Chicago as of last week who were eligible for it. And especially anybody over the age of 65, full stop, and anybody over the age of 50 with an underlying condition, please, 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 booster dose now. The vaccines continue to work beautifully in terms of protecting against those severe illnesses, but where we do see breakthroughs or where we are occasionally seeing people get more seriously ill, it's in those older age groups. And so ahead of Thanksgiving, again, get that vaccine now if you know anybody who's older especially.
All right, Sylvia Goodman, The Tribune.
Hi, this is for CEO Martinez. We've heard about outreach that's generally happening across the city. What are schools specifically expected to be leading with outreach? We already heard a little bit from Principal Anderson. What are all schools doing to make sure that kids are aware of the vaccine?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, one of the things that I'm looking forward to is as we get through this weekend, having that rich information, because as Dr. Arwady said, I've gotten a lot of requests, why don't you do more vaccination sites at schools? The reality, the data has shown that when you have a city like Chicago that has a wealth of providers, I know for example, my wife is going to go to a pediatrician. Or they're going to go to a clinic that they've been going to that they trust. Some families do need to come to school-based clinics, but again, what that level, that quantity is, we'll have a better sense today. Because by the way, we've been offering vaccine shots since the beginning of the school year, since last summer. We've never hit our capacity. And that's been going on since last summer. So if you look at the data, it really supports what Dr. Arwady said, is that our city has a wealth of healthcare resources. So when we get that data, then the goal will be, we'll first work with the families that took advantage and say, okay, do you need help with your second shot? So you'll see that because we'll know school by school. So I'll work with our principals. Principal Anderson is a role model in the way he has done outreach in the community, but they have other principals that are doing the same as well. And then for families who have not, that to me is the more interesting conversation. To know how many there are, where they're located, and we can take mobile clinics, even vaccines at home, whatever it takes. But for those families, I think a lot of it is conversations. It's finding out what is it that you're hesitant about, what questions do you have, what concerns, and that's why, again, it has to be health professionals that are with us. It can't be the schools by themselves. We're not the health experts.
Thank you very much. That's a wrap, everyone. Have a great day.
I think we've got.
Oh no, Mitch said no.
Okay. There. We're good. All right.
Thanks,
All right.
Mayor.